A group of young men sail across the open sea. Their destination is a city in India called Mumbai. Throughout the journey, whispers continue to echo in their minds. The whispers sound like a doctrine from the one who sent them. They have been indoctrinated to believe that everyone in the city is a sinner got an enemy, more evil than animals. And in their minds, there is no room for compassion. Meanwhile, we are introduced to the Taj Mahal Hotel, one of the most prestigious hotels in India, a place reserved for dignitaries, business elites, and important guests from around the world. That day, one of the VIP guests is Zara Kashani, the daughter of a powerful figure. Judging by how she is welcomed, the hotel's standards are unmistakably high. Inside the hotel kitchen, every employee undergoes strict hygiene inspections, all supervised by the head chef, Chef Hemant. That's when a late employee draws attention. His name is Arjun. Arjun desperately needs this job. He needs the money. His wife is pregnant, and they are living apart. A few hours later, the group arrives at South Mumbai station. The place is crowded with people. Unnoticed by anyone, weapons are prepared inside a restroom, and within minutes, a brutal shooting begins. The gunfire is random. There are no exceptions. Even the police become targets. Using a stolen police vehicle, the terror continues. This time, it is even more brutal. Their targets are civilians in the open. The media quickly reports the attack nationwide. Mumbai descends into fear. Meanwhile, the story shifts back to the hotel. This is the second briefing of the day, held just before dinner service. The meeting focuses on one particular guest, Vasily Dordetsky, a Russian VIP known for his intimidating presence and arrogant attitude. Vasily has requested a private party in his room, involving several women and a number of hotel staff. At the Taj, there are no exceptions. Every guest is treated with absolute respect, no matter who they are. The other attack begins with a gunshot, followed by a bomb. There's no clear reason why they chose the cafe, but if their goal was to spread fear, they succeeded. Dozens of people panic. This attack happens right in the heart of the city, just a few blocks away from the Taj Mahal Hotel. Strangely, none of that chaos can be felt inside the hotel. Inside, everything still feels calm, tender, almost romantic. Zara and David are in the same dinner with Vasily, separated with their baby and nanny at the room. But the hotel's reputation for safety draws attention from outside. Crowds begin pushing toward the entrance, desperate for shelter. Panic slowly creeps in. The hotel is not allowed to refuse guests. Unfortunately, the terrorists slip in with the crowd. They prepare their weapons right in the middle of the crowd. And even more terrifying, they do it without hesitation, which means there will be no negotiation. The first shot is fired. This attack is designed to be carried out openly. These men act less like humans and more like machines. Cold, relentless, without compassion. They listen to only one thing, a mysterious voice speaking through their headsets. In the middle of this nightmare, the receptionist desperately calls every room, warning guests not to open their doors under any circumstances. But Sally never receives the warning. Her baby's crying breaks her focus. She manages to pick up the phone just for a moment. Everything happens too fast. Other guests enter to their room and hide in panic. Sally the nanny just do the same, knowing terrible situation happened. The terrorists then entered their room, scanning every corner. They even stole a wristwatch, a clear sign that they had no real faith. When they discovered a foreign guest hiding inside, he was immediately shot on the spot. The tension is unbearable. One cry from the baby could get them all killed. Fortunately, one of them distracted his companions. The moment the terrorists moved on, Sally rushed into the bathroom. She called David and told him everything that had just happened. Sally was completely hysterical after what she had witnessed. David couldn't allow his son and the nanny to remain trapped inside that room. He decided to go get them himself, but Arjun couldn't let his guests leave. Their safety was his responsibility. But David couldn't be prevented. Out from the restaurant, David sneaks into the hotel lobby, where an armed man is on guard. However, David manages to reach the elevator. The moment he reached the room, David immediately grabbed his baby and told Sally to inform Zara about their situation. Outside the hotel, news of the attacks flooded every TV channel. Mumbai was under siege, with explosions reported across the city. It's important to note that Mumbai had no dedicated counter-terror unit for an attack of this scale. As a result, tactical forces had to be deployed directly from New Delhi, thousands of kilometers away. A police commander knew they couldn't afford to wait. They had to move in immediately, even though this attack wasn't their usual scenario. In the kitchen, Chef Heeman ordered Arjun to escort everyone to the chamber room, the safest place in the hotel. The remaining staff were given a choice: leave the hotel or stay behind, since the kitchen still had access to the outside through a rear exit. In the end, most decided to stay for the guests' safety. After explaining the situation to each guest by Arjun, Zara told to David by text they could meet at Camber Club Room. And then Arjun guided them toward the chamber room. This was the most difficult part, because he was now responsible for dozens of lives. Everyone had to remain calm as they passed through a hidden door leading to the emergency stairwell. Fortunately, Arjun managed to get all the guests into the chamber. It became the first real sign of hope, as the room was completely isolated from the outside world. On the other side, the police finally managed to enter through the back door of the restaurant. They moved in quietly, armed with only basic rifles, but their luck was no better. They were met with a hail of gunfire, leaving only 2 officers alive. In the chamber room, the tension worsened when an elderly woman noticed Zara speaking on the phone in Persian. Overcome by fear, she accused Zara of being one of the terrorists. Not only that, she was also frightened by Arjun's beard and mustache. This was when Arjun approached her. In a calm and humble tone, he explained that his beard was part of his belief, a symbol of honor and sacred courage. He spoke gently, doing everything he could to reassure the guests. Suddenly startled by shouting outside the door, it turned out to be a hotel staff member, bringing in a woman who was shot. A doctor quickly realized she had been shot in the chest. The only option was to take her to a hospital, but that was impossible. In that critical moment, Arjun took another risk. He volunteered to carry the woman himself, even if it meant risking his own life. Once the situation seemed safe enough, David, the nanny, and the baby began making their way toward the chamber room. At the same time, Arjun was on his way to help the wounded woman. Along the corridor, he ran into a police commander who mistakenly believed Arjun was one of the terrorists. Panicked by the chaos, the injured woman fled. Tragically, she ran straight into the real terrorists and was killed. In the same corridor, David was spotted by the terrorists. He was chased down, but managed to hide the nanny and the baby inside a cleaning supply room. David himself was captured, not killed, but something far more terrifying happened. The room where the baby was hiding was locked from the outside. After proving that he was a hotel staff member, Arjun was ordered by the police to guide them to the CCTV server room. From there, they were finally able to track the terrorists' movements inside the hotel. At the same time, one of the terrorists managed to discover the location of the chamber room. Realizing the danger, Arjun immediately tried to warn Chef Heeman. Panic broke out inside the chamber. Their hiding place had been exposed. With dozens of lives at stake, everyone was evacuated to another location. Knowing how many people were inside, the terrorists tried everything to break in. The two remaining police officers, with nothing left but courage, attempted to stop him, but fate was cruel. More terrorists arrived. Outnumbered and outgunned, the officers stood no chance. One of the terrorists was shot by the police and staggered into a nearby room. Imran. Inside, David tied up and completely helpless. Imran's doubts began to feel real. He started questioning everything, especially Bull, the man who had sent them. It turned out that paradise wasn't the only promise. Bull had also promised money to the families of the terrorists. Overwhelmed by guilt, Imran immediately contacted his family. The weight of regret was impossible to hide. Long story short, 9 hours later, Mumbai was drowning in blood. Zara, exhausted and barely able to stand, began to lose control. She forced Chef Hemant to open the door. No matter what happened, she had to find her baby immediately. Accompanied by Vasily, Zara refused to run. She only wanted her child. The chaos forced Vasily to stop her, and it didn't take long before the terrorists found them. They were subdued and ordered to regroup with the other hostages. And in that moment, Zara finally reunited with her lover. David, however, avoided the conversation, better to pretend they not knowing each other. Long story short, a few more hours passed. At 4 a.m., Akmal was finally arrested. He was interrogated immediately. Not long after, the entire group gathered in one room. Bull ordered them to interrogate all the hostages. Vasily managed to speak directly with Bull, and the truth came out. This was never about money. The real purpose of gathering the hostages was to shock the entire world. The plan was to blow up the hostages in front of the windows, so Western media could witness their brutality firsthand. Before the show began, the terrorists set fires and detonated explosives throughout the hotel. The shockwaves forced a group of people out of their hiding place. The problem was, they were heading straight toward the terrorist. Arjun saw this and didn't hesitate. He immediately left the monitoring room to carry out a rescue. By sheer coincidence, the escape route passed through a hidden cell, and that decision ended up saving the nanny and baby's life. Meanwhile, in another room, David took advantage of Imran's exhaustion. Before making his move, David had already told Zara where she and the baby were hiding. At the same moment, a hotel staff member contacted the media, asking for help. He explained their situation and location to a reporter. That mistake turned out to be fatal. The terrorists now knew their plan, and sure enough, just seconds later, Bull ordered the terrorists to check their position. Not only that, Bull also sent Imran along. The hostages were no longer needed. Time was running out. Imran was ordered to execute them all. Vasily tried to stop Imran, but in the end, yes, this was the end of David and Vasily's journey. Now it was Zara's turn. Just before Imran pulled the trigger, something unexpected happened. Zara recited the Shahada. The young man began to shake after hearing those words. Even Dr. Bull could no longer force him to pull the trigger. And finally, Imran broke. Frustrated, he chose to walk away and leave Zara alive. In that moment, Zara ran toward Sally's location. But Zara found nothing there. At the same time, Sally and dozens of others had managed to escape the chamber. All they had to do was go down the emergency stairs and exit through the back door. The problem was, there were more than 50 of them, and in the middle of the chaos, suddenly, yes, the terrorists blew open the chamber door. The explosion sent everyone into panic, and the situation became extremely, dangerously bad. Fortunately, special forces had finally arrived at the checkpoint, but inside the hotel, the massacre was about to begin. This was the moment when the dedication of the hotel staff truly showed. They bowed their heads and placed their own lives beneath the safety of the guests. Like a miracle, the special forces stormed in and struck back at Imran's group before the massacre could happen. Alongside Arjun, we also see Chef Hemant and Zara alive after the firefight. By this point, at least 100 people had lost their lives.